Hi everyone, this is Mindy Eggen and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I created these window cards. Now what's really cool is these window cards have a unique design to them. I will be featuring products that are in the Hero Arts January 2022 My Monthly Hero Kit. I'll show you how to create this window and then how to decorate the inside of your card and some different color combinations that I used. Here's a look at what's included in the January 2022 My Monthly Hero Kit from Hero Arts. You would be receiving a 6x8 clear stamp that has this gorgeous layering tree on it, 3 coordinating frame cuts for that stamp, 4.25 by 5.5 inch fancy cover plate die which has that keyhole in the front. You'll also get 1 key fancy die, 4 ink cubes, including the colors of Key Lime Fizz, Green Apple, Taffy, and Cup of Joe, and then you'd also be receiving some red iridescent gems. Hero Arts kits are always so jam-packed with value. This one happens to be valued at $80 but can be purchased for $34.99. You can purchase the kit separately on your own or become a subscriber and never miss out on a kit because once these kits sell out, they are gone and are not restocked. Now here's a closer look at that cover plate die, the coordinating frame cuts, and that key. I will be using these later on in the video. I'm going to first get started with some stamping, starting with my tree. So this is the base layer of the tree. It is the most solid of the stamp on the set. There's only a couple there, so it's very easy to tell which one is your base layer. Now what I like to do when I am stamping something like this is I do a whole bunch of them in different colors. So for this one, I did Key Lime Fizz as my first color. Now my Key Lime Fizz needs to seriously be re-inked, so I apologize for that. So I moved on, I cleaned off my stamp, and I'm still having that base layer. This time I did Pool. Now all of these colors are from Hero Arts. Some of them are included in the kit, some of them are from my own stash. After my light blue, I am moving on to a light pink. So this is Soft Pink from Hero Arts. And I do like to stamp most of these twice just to make sure I have a really good solid impression. And then I'm moving on to Soft Lilac. So I'm going to have a great variety of colors to choose from when I start putting my card together. I lined up the second layer of the tree, which is very easy to line up. I started with the tree because I thought it was easier to build around the tree trunk, and that actually helped line up my stamp sets. So this second color is Green Apple, which is layered on top of the Key Lime Fizz. Now once again, I am cleaning off my stamp set in between each color. For my light blue tree here, I started with Deep Ocean, but that really wasn't grabbing me enough. So I brought in Indigo, and what I discovered is I really loved the high contrast of the light color to the dark color. So I did that for the rest of my cards. Now on my soft pink background here, I am using Raspberry Jam. I totally love this color combination. And then for my soft purple, I will be using Grape Juice, so another one that has a really high contrast in color to it. After I have that layer stamped down, I'm going to work on the tree trunk, which once again, once you have your main image stamped, it's very easy to line up. And I am going to start by inking this first layer of the tree branch in soft brown. Now I noticed when I stamped it down that I was a little bit off, but honestly, it doesn't bother me. I actually kind of liked having that little bit of white in there. So that's totally up to you if you wanted to readjust this, but I just left it and I just kept switching in my different backgrounds. After I have this base layer done, I am going to bring in the second layer of the tree branch. So there's 2 layers for the actual tree, and then there's 2 layers for the branch. Now this one I am stamping in Cup of Joe. If you wanted to, you could stamp your soft brown a couple times to give it a darker shade as well. So there are a couple options if you don't have all of these ink colors. Also included on that clear stamp set are these 2 pieces from the tree that are going to be hanging down. So I lined those up. This is the base layer that I'm stamping in that first color for each combination that I did. And then I came in and lined up that second layer. Now I was a little bit off on this one too, but it really didn't bother me. And I don't think anyone else is going to really notice if you didn't have the stamp set. So I'm going to line up the coordinating die for each of these, hold them in place with a low tack tape, and run them through my die cut machine. So after I do this for all my color trees, I will have these ready to put onto cards. The first card that I will be making is going to be just creating a scene on the front of the card. I use this for my countdown post, but I wanted to show you how easy this was to put together. I will be using white cardstock for my background. This is 4¼ by 5½, and I have a piece of Post-it tape towards the bottom there, and I'm going to start with ink blending Taffy ink with my blending brush. Now I am going super light-handed. I didn't want a ton of color, and I didn't want it really bright pink, just really soft, not a lot of pressure on the brush. And then I'm bringing in Lemon Drop, and I'm going to kind of, I don't want to say bleed that into, but I'm going to kind of blend that into my Taffy ink. And to me, that's where the magic happens, is where those two colors kind of overlap. Then I'm going to remove that Post-it tape, and I'm going to place it right on the line of where my Taffy ink is. So I'm masking that off. And then I'm going to bring in Key Lime Fizz. Now this is another one that I'm coming in very light-handed. I didn't want it to go all the way down. I just kind of wanted some soft color right in the center of the card. Then I'm going to take this over to my Misty stamping tool, and I'm going to line up one of my trees here just on the side so I can get an idea about where I want that swing to go. Now you don't have to add the swing. You could also stamp the swing and die cut it out, but I thought it looked really pretty having it just stamped right on the front of my card. I'm stamping this one. This is actually Cup of Joe ink that I'm stamping it in, so it'll be at a dark swing. And then I'm going to line up these 2 extra pieces from the tree. Now this is the first layer of it that I lined up over the edge of the swing, or the string of the swing, stamping that in the Key Lime Fizz. Then I'm going to line up that second layer of these pieces that hang down, and I'm going to stamp that in Green Apple. I could have used the pieces that I die cut out, but I just really liked the look of these stamped right onto the swing. Now after I have those on there are some little rocks, like a little pathway that leads up to the steps, and I'm going to stamp that. I think I used soft brown. I believe that's the color I used, but any light color like that would work. And there's also these little delicate butterflies, so I'm stamping those in soft pink. Then I can add my sentiment towards the bottom that I am stamping in intensified black ink. I am noticing here I really need to re-ink a lot of my ink pads. I use them so much, so I apologize for that, but thank goodness for the Misty where I can stamp that multiple times. Now for my tree, I am adding some foam squares to the back of this. I'm going to peel off the backing of that and then line that up so it is just kind of coming down a little bit from the swing. I had trimmed this panel down to 4 by 5¼ and added it to a white card front. Now here's my original card on the left hand side. You can see that tree is a little bit fuller. And that is because when I die cut my pieces, I tucked them underneath the tree because I have that popped up with the foam squares. So that's another look that I will show you in just a moment. Now for my next card here, this is where I will be showing you how to create that keyhole to make it a window so we can look into the inside of the card. Here is that cover plate die with the keyhole. I am taking that and I'm lining that up over a piece of white cardstock that is 4¼ by 5½. I also have that separate keyhole that I'm lining up in the inside of that, holding it in place with a low tack tape and die cutting this out. So this is actually going to be my template. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to line this up on the front of a card base. I tried die cutting the plate right into the card base, but it wasn't leaving me a lot of room next to the fold. So this is what I found to be easiest for me. So I created a side folding card. Now I'm taking my template and I'm lining that up over the front of my card. And then I'm going to take that keyhole frame, line that up right in the center there. It kind of locks into place. Hold that down with Post-it tape. Now I'm going to open this up because I don't want to cut that keyhole through everything. I just want to cut it in the front of the card. So you can see now I have that keyhole that's creating our window to look to the inside of the card. So I am going to actually die cut a few more of these cover plate dies out of white cardstock, and I'm going to layer them together to create dimension on the front of my card. So that template didn't go to waste. The reason I call it a template is because when I run it through the machine a couple more times, it's flattening out all of that beautiful ornate detail that is on the front here. Now for the front of the very front of the card, I die cut that cover plate from gold foil cardstock. And then I'm going to layer everything together with a tape runner, just making sure I'm getting all around that keyhole so everything is stuck together nicely. So after I add my front piece here, you can see how the keyholes line up pretty well. And then I can move on to decorating the inside of the card. So that's what I think is really cool, is we can look through this keyhole to see this kind of magical world in the inside. Now I have the tree that I stamped in the pinks and reds, and I don't have it taped down yet. I just placed it there to see about where it would be through the keyhole. I took my blending brush that already has some taffy ink, and I'm just lightly adding a little bit of color right there. I'm also going to bring in a little bit of that yellow towards the very top, just to add a little bit of something so it wasn't so stark white through that keyhole. I'm really happy with that. So I'm going to move this over to my Misty tool. Now I had to change orientation to fit my entire card in here. So I lined up my tree about where it's going to go. And then I lined up the swing stamp so that it's going to come down from that tree that I'll place in there. So once I pick that up with the Door of the Misty, I am stamping that in caramel ink. You could really choose any type of brown or even a gray, even black, whatever suits your fancy. After I have that, I'm going to place a sentiment down here. Now, what's really cool about this, I think, is that the sentiment is kind of hidden from the front. You don't see it until you open up the card because I'm stamping that way at the bottom of the card. And I'm just using intensified black ink to stamp that down. So now that I have everything stamped, I am going to add my tree in the inside of my card with my tape runner. I don't want to add any foam squares to this one because it is in the inside. And now here's what I had done previously on my original card was, instead of putting these little pieces that hang down, instead of putting them on my swing, I'm kind of tucking them underneath. So I am just making this a little bit more full. I don't know, fuller, full, more full. Either way, I love how it looks. So now we have this great window scene where we're looking through the keyhole. Now this is the second card where we're going to actually add a sentiment right in that keyhole. Now I went ahead and I already created my card base for this, so I already have the window created on the front of the card, and I have a tree here. I had stamped this probably a few weeks ago. I think that I used Aegean and Emerald Green. I think. I was looking at my swatch chart. I didn't write the colors down, but any color combination would look phenomenal for here. So I lightly added some key lime fizz so that you can see a little bit of green when you look through that keyhole. I also die cut that key fancy die from gold foil cardstock and just added to the front of the card. And now I picked a small sentiment off of the stamp set, kind of playing around about where it's going to fit. And I picked this I love you, which you could send to, really anybody, friends, parents, kids. I just thought it was a really nice, simple sentiment to add right in that keyhole, and I stamped that down with my intensified black ink. Now I had a little bit of open space right above it, so I decided this would be a perfect spot to add some of those cute little butterflies. So I stamped that in that soft pink. And then I can finish it off by actually attaching down my tree. I like to wait to the very end just in case I needed to move it around and I don't stamp on top of it. So I just added that with a tape runner. So now we have the sentiment that you can see through from the front of the card. And I love these unique window scenes. I hope this video has inspired you and given you some ideas for the My Monthly Hero Kit for January 2022. I will have all of the supplies listed down below in the video description and over on my blog as well, along with some more pictures. Thanks so much for joining, and I'll see you again soon.